Order for your aqua by Vessel like comment and subscribe to the channel now. You go so nursing training, teachers training allowance and seminar. We see Pratt and then an Akumea walk up your PCF. One so headlines, Now what is discussing, and no, never one of the best topics. And as a headlines, and what person will discuss if I due to who we have waiters headline. Hannah Juice, our chess, Becha, 2 things, Emunano na work chese the time of Mahama no ne campaign or chese or no onya twem biem because onim fa share e was so my student no nti no ba share first one o twem no we dey obehwe say obetima aba no wetima improve na dey na adenti na sisi no waba na obese o twem na nkofo afere disappointment e wo mo no chese say otimi di na asem so na oyesa e ma student no uba no improve no member be twetwem sana first one no oye na no na be ko na akotie na kumia na kwesi prat nsema won so work afa how na do so statement we make e wo Ghana sisi yenkotie mra
publication by the current ministry designate of Minister of Education Honorable Haruna Idris on the cancellation of teacher training allowances.
You'll be trouble.
Oh, okay. What's the headline?
Sorry, now. I had been. I said, you can't trade. So the Minister of Education, Haruna Idris, has announced plans to transition teacher training allowances teacher training allowances into an enhanced student loan scheme to allow students to cater for their own feeding and personal expenses. Next paragraph. The minister explained that while the allowances will be maintained in the interim, the government intended to phase the allowance system out gradually. Next paragraph. There's no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level. Emphasis. We can narrow feeding to basic and free senior high schools, but at the tertiary level, students should be able to take care of themselves. In the interim, we will continue with feeding allowances, but we will transition to an enhanced student loans system. And so, okay, it's very confusing.
Two paragraphs.
The minister said this one so. The team was led by so. The meeting provided the platform for the principals to voice their challenges and explore strategies to enhance learning outcomes, improve quality of education, and
second paragraph.
The loan scheme will be run parallel. The loan scheme will be run parallel with the allowances initially. But will eventually adopt the standard practice in all tertiary institutions where students rely on loans instead of direct allowances. So, okay, the impression is it's not talking about teacher training allowances. It's talking about allowances for tertiary students. Of course, teacher training, some of them will fall into the category of tertiary students.
Colleges of education.
Yes.
University.
Tertiary students have more allowances.
What kind of you get the impression?
So, allowance. So, training colleges.
No, tertiary students. They can't tertiary. Allowances.
To say universities.
Yeah, allowances. They just teacher training colleges. Teacher training colleges only at tertiary institutions.
Yeah.
Master, report your hand and be here.
Even now, can you also tertiary, not teacher training?
Oh, that be a
show me particular paragraph. Because now can you it is about teacher training allowances, not tertiary. Now can you teacher training allowances, not tertiary. Oh, now me tell na me then. O da che me bi aka.
Me the money na.
There's confusion.
Na me
but there's a lot of confusion.
Me type head no me yam she me.
Okay.
But
to the minister for the very first paragraph. The first paragraph in the boss the Minister for Education has announced plans to transition teacher trainee allowances into enhanced student loan scheme to allow the students cater for their aid. If I can say confusion about teacher training,
it's not just talking about general allowance. It's talking about feeding allowance.
But then you are teacher training because tertiary students don't get allowances.
Another question: okay, baby, or say they will phase the allowance system out gradually.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then he will continue with the feeding allowance. Compim say omo ebe kan say we die nkofo atiase yenko enhanced loan no e de ombeto aso ama omo allowance ni feeding.
The minister can say e beto aso kosi say students nankasa ebe choose
option.
It's a very confusing report.
Head them no. A
very confusing report.
But heading here is very clear. Even from the story, the allowances are going to go. Clear from the story. There will be
Which allowance?
Teacher training allowance.
What Babino is referring to feeding allowance.
An allowance is on the other. Almost if you don't the other. An allowance is
maybe some question.
There is no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level. You can narrow feeding to basic and free senior high school.
Okay.
But at the tertiary levels, students should be able to take care of themselves. In the interim, we will continue with the feeding allowances, but we transition to an enhanced student loan scheme. That's one part. So it's specific feeding.
But there's nothing like feeding allowance. It's just allowance.
Because
it's just allowance. Allowance, you use it for feeding and use it for yourself.
But Nana,
for feeding and for yourself.
Yeah. Allowance is more the other.
For feeding and for yourself.
Yes.
So there's a distinction
between the allowances.
Feeding and yourself.
No, the allowance, I just see a cheap way for feeding and a way for transport. Yeah, they don't do that. They give you the allowance.
The minister, no?
Oh, said there for emphasis.
Part of the allowance.
But I'm saying that the story is clear. The allowance will go. That's the story. That's the government of the story.
And that's gradually.
Yeah, and it's a process.
And as an option, and so on.
Then you have the allowance, and then the loan as an option. And what is your option? Allowance now is option. It's not available.
Also full or they will go in.
I'll say that stated that the student loan would operate alongside the allowance for a short period. To give students the option before the full transition. So he's talking about transition. I mean, of course, story could have been written better, but the clear government is that the teacher training allowances are going to go.
You are in my domain.
And
you are talking about journalism and story writing. You are in my domain. Where I am here all my life. This is what I study. So there is confusion in the story. Lots of confusion in the story.
But you agree that it's about student teacher training allowance?
Not alone. The minister refers to tertiary.
Because teacher training institutions are tertiary institutions.
Fantastic. But it is not only teacher training in a tertiary. There are other tertiary education students are
which ones?
Loans.
Not allowances.
Yes.
Which ones?
I will not be able to tell you offhand. Bampacho, there were nurses. There were nurses. There were some technical trainees near there. Almost the allowance. I'm sure eventually we'll get to know. What I'm saying is that the kind of story we are, I should have a clear picture as to what the story is saying. It is not here. It's not clear.
Sorry, it could have been tidier. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not clear at all.
About
baby, opening the shows of all kinds. The baby running 260 now for some time.